For me, entering a grove of old-growth trees is like entering a church. Places such as this grove of redwoods once covered the entire coastal Northwest. Now, only 4% of the old trees remain, and they continue to fall to make phone books and toilet paper. Some of the trees in the Montgomery Woods Reserve are over 1,000 years old, and at over 300 feet tall, they stand as elders to all living things. The feeling is like something sacred, said one lady visiting from Germany, and I have to agree with her. In this grove is the second tallest tree known, and possibly one of the most ancient living beings on Earth. Western culture has considered nature as dangerous and irrational, even evil, but it is really a complex and interrelated system of relationships that continually monitors, regulates, and regenerates itself through the interaction of all its parts. Nothing here lives separate from any of its neighbors, and everything contributes to the whole. I think nature is a good metaphor and model on how to coexist. Do what you do best, share it with others, make room for others, don't waste, and recycle. People automatically speak in softer tones, rarely shout or otherwise disturb the peace while visiting these woods. Using words like tranquil, serene, peaceful, and sacred to describe the feelings they get, people tend to move slower, take more time, and look closer at things. For generations, forests have provided space to live, gather food, work, room for contemplation, spiritual practice, relaxation, research, recreation, and much more. The remaining forests continue to do so today, and small reserves, such as Montgomery Woods, may someday be all that remain of these ancient beings. It is difficult for me to understand how one person can look at these magnificent trees and see nothing but dollars, and not an ancient living entity full of meaning. Forestry science professionals tell us that these old trees can be removed from the mountainside without damaging the integrity of the ecosystem because they are not alive, and neither is the forest ecosystem. Although still politically accepted, this science is easy to refute, and the clogged streams and dying salmon would testify if they had a human voice. Reconnecting to the idea that nature is alive and we humans are dependent upon it for our survival is necessary if we are to avoid the worst of possible futures. Traditional and indigenous cultures understood the human-nature relationship and designed artifacts, ceremonies, and customs to teach new members of their society the importance of respecting nature and to live in reciprocity with it. Holistic education about nature is less about learning social prerequisites and more about the student remembering and connecting with what already exists in them. Why do you like coming out into nature like this?
I like coming out to nature like this is because there's a lot of new things that I haven't seen before, and there is a lot of new plants and mushrooms, and there's a lot of new things that nature has provided.
Uh-huh. And what are some of the things you like doing the most when you go out into the woods?
I like looking at all the different mushrooms.
Uh-huh.
I like looking at all the tall trees, and I like looking at all the birds and all the like lizards and stuff that are out in the woods.
Uh-huh. How do you feel when you're out in nature?
I feel happiness. And my brain likes to learn about things that it hasn't really learned about yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I have my house in nature. That's why I like outside, and I'm really creative with all the nature.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me and going for a walk.
Yeah. Usually Usually they're about this big.
Pero,
Oh, wow. Yeah, so these are babies.
This is a remnant of an old northern hemisphere rainforest, and the ecosystem is sustained through water. For example, the tips of the redwood tree branches are more like tiny dragon scales than leaves and specialized for gathering moisture from the air. Precipitation from this fog drip falls into the lush habitat of the wetland and fern forest below. The forest floor is abundant with thick layers of decomposing organic matter, and the air is clean, moist, and earthy. Nothing is wasted. This is transdisciplinarity and applied systems theory in practice. As the trees are cut and the forest dries out, there is an increased risk of fire, which happened a few years ago on the adjacent property, stopping here with minimal damage. The redwood tree bark is fire resistant, and the moist environment helped to protect the main grove. There is also beauty in the relationships that develop. An old stump, some moss, and some ferns make for a very pretty picture. Exploring what we value and what motivates us can be as fun as exploring a wetland full of wildlife. One never knows what they will find. The exploration of change can be fearsome and daunting. It can also be fun and joyous. Usually, it is a combination of both. Having a supportive family and community is a big help.
I'm definitely grateful for my family, and I'm grateful for my kids and how creative they are and how much they love to play outside. I think that's amazing. When I look around, I'm concerned about how everybody is so involved in technology, constantly on their phones, on their laptops, in video games. It's just they're so invested in this fantasy life that nobody's paying any attention to what's actually happening in the real world. That makes me sad. When I see the world, I see things getting worse. You can't go anywhere without people. I mean, you can't even go to lunch without everybody on their cell phones. Like, nobody's talking to each other. People don't interact with each other anymore. You know, when you're at home and everybody wants to be in their separate rooms playing their video games, or, I mean, it's just absolutely getting worse. I can't do anything about the advancement of technology. I can't stop that. It is going to happen. But what I do is when I'm with my friends or my family or out to eat, my phone is put away. Like, I have one, and it's for my phone calls, but when I'm there to engage with people, I engage with people. And hopefully other people will see that, and they'll put their phones away too. And, you know, they can get back to talking to each other. Well, come back to life, you know.
Nature is about relationships and reciprocity. We can take some guidance from there and work to build our capacities for relating, giving, and cooperation. When I look out at the world, I am grateful for so many things: my grandchildren, my family and my friends, my life, the opportunity to be in service, and the smell of the air after a rain. I am grateful for nature and all that it provides. I am concerned at the glorification of war and the mechanisms of war, the destruction of the planetary support systems such as the oceans, wetlands, and forests. I am concerned for the future generations of all species and their well-being. The more I look at the world, the more I see positive change in almost every aspect of global society. It may feel painfully slow, but the wheel of the great turning is revolving, and it is unstoppable. This is a good time to be alive.